Hello? Yeah, sure, I'd love to review a bike. A V-twin, you say? Wait, what? How big? Yeah, sure, no problem. Why not? That's kind of how the conversation went around me getting hold of this bike, so I was quite intrigued to see what the GV300s Bobber was like when it arrived. The Korean manufacturer produce a lot of small capacity machines, and this A2 friendly motorcycle is the latest in their lineup. So if we turn away from its obvious intentions in the looks department, what does this GV300s offer to potential buyers?
Let's start with the motor, because a 296cc V-twin is an interesting choice. Hyosung could have very easily put a single in this or a small parallel twin, but I like the fact that they've gone with a V-twin and are trying to get some of that authenticity into this, albeit with a tiny V-twin and a water-cooled one. The little throbber puts out 29 horsepower at a peak of 8,500 RPM and 25 Newton meters of torque at 6,500 RPM. The engine is mated to a 6-speed gearbox, which hasn't got the most positive action, to be fair. It is quite hard to find neutral a lot of the times, but this is a brand new bike, so it may well be that that would bed in a little bit. But yeah, I've had a few attempts at trying to find neutral at junctions and it's just not happened. The fueling is decent and the power delivery is nice and soft. Obviously with peak power coming in at 8,500 RPM, it's quite a revvy little motor. The bike will surpass motorway speeds, but you do have to be a little bit patient. Having said that though, this is a cruiser and it's a 300cc cruiser, so you wouldn't expect it to be taking off like a rocket ship. But there you go, 70 miles an hour in 6th gear at 7,000 revs. It feels like it would do this all day long. Whether I could put up with it all day long, I'm not entirely sure, because I am now getting quite a bit of buzz through the handlebars. I think a simple switch to a softer grip would probably help that, but this is no motorway mile muncher. The bike weighs 172 kilos. It's got a very friendly 710mm seat height, which makes it a great first bike if you're new to biking, or if you're let's say more petite. If you're a little bit shorter or a little bit lighter, then although 172 kilos for a bike like this isn't necessarily light, it's very easy to maneuver around. The steel fuel tank has a 12.5 litre capacity, and given the frugality of this small 296cc engine, that means you get quite a decent range out of a tank of fuel. It's not a badly put together bike, but it is obviously built to a budget, and you can see that when you look at things like the controls. The grips are kind of a hard rubber. The switch gear's quite light and not particularly positive. It works, don't get me wrong, but I'm not sure how dependable this will be and how long this will last. Now it might be that I'm doing Hyosung a disservice by saying that, but that's kind of the impression that I do get from these controls. They just feel a bit lightweight. The speedo is straight from a late 80s, early 90s sports bike, so that kind of doesn't really sit with the aesthetic that they're going for with the Bobber. I suspect it's come out of their parts bin, and it does what it does. The little LCD display tells you what you need to know. You've got a rev counter, gear selector, fuel and everything else, but the bit that is annoying me is that it's wonky.
It does somewhat look the part though, with the blacked out components, and from a distance it's not a bad looking little machine at all. Now I say that, but despite the capacity, it's actually a reasonably sized motorcycle. I'm 5 foot 10 inches tall with a 32-inch inside leg, and I found it pretty comfortable to ride. This particular bike has been fitted with some extras: the single seat in tan, luggage rack, headlight grille, handlebar risers and clamshell cover are not standard, and of course do cost extra.
The bike is quite nippy once you get it going, and despite the suspension being very basic, it doesn't do too bad a job. On normal roads it's pretty decent. When you get to bumpy roads like these, it's just all a little bit bouncy. and there's no adjustability in these at all. So that's one area it might be lacking, but I suspect this kind of bike is going to be ridden around cities more than anything, and there the suspension is going to be fine. The brakes, just a single rotor on the front, are adequate, nothing more than that. They will pull the bike to a stop, but there's not a lot of bite to them, and you do have to pull that lever really hard. The other issue I have with this bike are the tyres, and it's fitted with Timson tyres, and I've tried those on some other bikes, and you don't get a lot of feel out of them. Weirdly, for this bike they've gone with a kind of a dual sport type tread, which doesn't really sit with this bobber aesthetic that they're going for. But also for me, I'm not getting the feeling out of the tyres. They're not the most confidence inspiring in the wet. I've only ridden them in the damp, but they're not fantastic at that. And the overall feeling that I get from them is that the front and the back feel like they're doing different things. Now, I thought that could be the bike, but I've ridden them on, I think it was the Sinis calf racer that I had, and that had the same tyres on, well, the same brand of tyres, and I got the same feeling out of those as well. So I don't know if it's that the compound is not consistent, I don't know, but I'm not that keen on the tyres. And as I say, for cruising around town, they're probably going to be fine. No doubt these will last a long time, but they are unquestionably cheap tyres, and they feel like it. Hello.
I know, big black man, big breaker behind.
Hello, sorry, I didn't want to leave you out. It's a pretty good fun bike to ride, actually. The engine's quite peppy. Yeah, the brakes are a bit spongy and they could be better. The suspension, as you'll notice down this bumpy lane, is a little bit bouncy. And those tyres, I'm really not a fan of those tyres. I can't really tell what they're doing at any point. But outside of that, it's good fun to buzz around on. I think it's perfect in the city. If you're doing small commutes, it's excellent. If you just want to go out and have a buzz around and on a sunny day, it's good fun. You know, it is what it is. It's a £4,000 brand new bike, so it's a little bit cluttered in here. The quality of the plastics isn't quite what you would hope for, but it does the job, and it looks the part as well, I guess.
It's a bike that will no doubt sell well in regions where small capacity machines are king, especially given the novelty of the V-twin motor. In the UK, it's A2 license friendly, but having said that, so is the KTM 390 Duke, the Yamaha MT-03, the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650, and of course the Honda Rebel 500. Tough competition, and of course all of those bikes I mentioned do cost more than this particular bike. So is it the price where the Hyosung can grab some traction? Now, I've got this bike early and it hasn't quite hit the UK market yet, but the indication I'm getting from Hyosung is that it will be released at a price just under £4,000. So for the price conscious, or for people looking for something just a little bit different in this 300cc category, it looks like it may be a good choice. Hyosung bikes come with a 3-year warranty, and that includes parts, labour and roadside recovery for the first of those 3 years. It could be a fun, dependable little workhorse, but in the back of my mind there is something telling me that maybe a used Honda Rebel at the same sort of price is going to be a better deal over the longer term. So I hope this has been an interesting little introduction to the Hyosung GV300s Bobber. If you like the video, then a thumbs up would be greatly appreciated. If you're not following the channel, then hitting the subscribe button and the notification bell would be fantastic, and you'll get all my new videos as they come through. And all that leaves me to say is until next time, thanks for watching, take care, ride safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.